Welcome to Supplements Talk, episode 2, and with our very special guest, our very good friend, Shane from Stack. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Congratulations on this. This is always fun to do these things and see them start.
Yeah, and thanks for being the inspiration. Actually, you were one of the reasons that this whole thing started. The whole process of this was because it was your idea to do a podcast. You invited me over to Stacked and we were talking about supplinks and the Japanese market. And I had so much fun just having those conversations with you. It inspired me to have conversations with all the owners and just kind of start setting this thing up. And I got so much positive feedback that here we're doing this thing.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's the fun. I always find podcasts interesting because it's not like there's no real return or anything you get out of it. Just just general chat. And like you said before, this is the conversations you'd have anyway. So you just put them out there.
Yeah, talk about no return. There's no return in this. We're just spending money left and right over here for fun. But we were talking about before the podcast, just how these conversations that we have, Shane has them every day. He's talking to brand owners. He's talking to industry individuals all over the place. And I'm doing the same thing. And I just realized that these conversations are so fun to me and I'm having them every day. So why am I not sharing some of this information, at least, networking better, getting people connected? I've been doing so many different things recently by connecting individuals to each other. And that's the whole purpose of the show. So again, thank you for the inspiration. But this episode's not about me this time. The tables have turned, my friend. It is about you. So I'm so curious about your whole story because I met you in the middle of your journey, one could say, and got connected. We had some tacos. We had some fun. Certain things we can't say on camera, but it was a really good time. And there was salsa. The sauce, not the dance, but it was just really fun. And so you have been in this industry doing so much for it, spreading information, giving, consumers information about new product launches, giving updates about brands. Just so much of the information of the industry comes from you. So if you don't mind, just tell me kind of a quick, summary of how you got started into this. Like, how did Shane just start doing this and then eventually how it evolved over the course of the last couple years?
I mean, to be honest, it's pretty generic to me. So when I was at university, college, I was I was doing graphic design, web design. So I got a diploma in graphic communication and a degree. But in that time, the lecturer just told me, he's like, dude, the best way to get work experience is to do it for free. So I hit up, there was a supplement store that had a banner at the local gym and leisure center. And so I just rolled up and I was like, hey, man, you want me to do a site for you? Like, no problem. It's in my realm. I think it'll be quite fun. And
a whole website or just a banner?
No, a whole website.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We were in college and like, it's better to go and put that on your resume rather than say, hey, hire me. I got jack shit to show you. So coincidentally, the guy that was doing it had already kind of set up something outside of where he was. And so, I designed the website for him and he really liked it. He thought it was fantastic. And then he said, hey, how about I sell to you protein powders at wholesale and you sell it to your friends? And I was like, sure, like, no problem. So, I slapped on, like, what was it, $10 a tub? Like, it wasn't that big a deal, but it was fun. And I got myself some cheap stuffs. And I eventually started selling online. And I was like, I just Googled, how do you make your online store popular? I was like, you do a blog. And I was like, well, okay, let's do a blog. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do it about? So I started doing it on releases just because I was like, products that were coming to my store, to my online store soon. Like, hey, this product just launched in America. I'm going to bring it over. Be here in like 2 weeks or whatever. And it was a small selection of brands that I sold. And then eventually I started paying attention to like magazines and online webcasts where they would tease things, and I was like, hey, this is something that's been teased. We might be bringing it in when it comes out. And then I slowly learned that I was the only person doing this. That this was sort of like a media, like a news thing. I was just doing it for the hell of it. And then I looked, and the people that were going to my blog were not the people going to my store. So I was like, well, fuck.
different crowd.
I've screwed up somewhere. So I had not looked at analytics, and I looked at them that day, and I was like, okay, let's change it. So I split the two that evening, designed the Stag website in like 2 hours, put together the logo, changed the language, changed the time zone, and started doing a few brands that were not at the store. And
gotcha. As an informational source at that time, because it wasn't at the store, or
so it was just purely just for the information. I was like, if they're not going to come to the store, who gives a shit? So let's just make a site for that. And I split the two apart. The original store was called 8 to Limit. Very fun fact that no one will probably ever know, and you won't find anything about it. But yeah, then I split the two, and I guess I was scheduling a story every 2 days, every 3 days, and then it became every day. Then it became every 2 days, 2 a day, and then like I started getting people hit me up and say, "Hey, can we share? Can you put this there?" It was just people started noticing it, and then I think I had one of the first companies that reached out was Mutant PVL. He said, "Hey, how much does a banner cost?" I was like, "I don't know how much you want to pay." Like,
we don't have prices here.
I was like, I'm honored you want to pay anything. And then and then
a cheeseburger.
So he put one up, and then like a month later, someone was like, "Hey, how much are these guys paying?" And I was like, "Oh, this much." I was being very transparent. I wasn't like, I was blown away.
You weren't trying to tell everyone.
I was. This is fantastic. There's 2 people that care. And then he basically paid more, and I was like, well, I can't lose that guy. So I was like, I'll just make something more prominent. And then I had another person, and then another person, and another person. And then, I just kept making something more prominent or less for people that wanted to pay. And then I eventually, this was what you call a inventory, as they say. And then as that picked up, I was able to just dedicate more time to it. It's literally what I was doing in the beginning for the 10 brands that I shared on. I now essentially do the same for 2,000, and it's just it's just the same over time. And I only ever wanted to make enough money to be able to do what I was doing. So I never had any ambition. Like if someone said, "Hey man, like we're a little short this month," I was like, it's all good.
Just slap it on there, no problem.
Just like during COVID, I just basically halved everyone's price. Like I was more interested in being comfortable to be able to produce the service that I needed to provide everyone in the world.
Sure.
And obviously with that extra, I guess, money behind it, I was able to just blow the hell out of it and just put a lot more time in it as opposed to 2 stories a week. It's now 10 to 15 a weekday and then 5 to 7. And we just get brands just coming out of nowhere. And I'm in a unique position where like we have the traffic and the audience on the site. And I can add these brands because that's the core driving force. People want to see new brands, new products, the latest. And it's just, as the industry is growing from protein powders, pre-workouts, and fat burners to energy drinks and protein snacks, we've just added
consumables.
We've just added things from that area. So instead of a supplement company that does a protein bar, we've added just brands that do protein bars like Quest. Same with energy drinks. We've added stories or news on brands that just do energy drinks, Monster, Rockstar, all that stuff. And it's just followed a natural path from the sports side. So, yeah.
Right, and kind of evolved into its space. Now, let's jump back a little bit and kind of give a little bit of a timeline. So when you first started the website, before it split, what year was that?
Before it split.
Before it split, yeah.
I think I was doing it for 1.5 years, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. But I'm talking like once a week. Like I would write a story on Sunday, like 4 of them for the month. That was it. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying any attention to this whatsoever.
No, it was just the beginning process. But was that what 2000 and
maybe 2010? Maybe I would.
Okay,
I think it switched in 2011.
Okay.
I don't actually remember. But all I did was because Google had a thing called Blogspot or Blogger, and it was free to just host it through there. You just paid $10 for the domain, so it was $10 a year.
Gotcha.
So my overheads were
your overhead was nice.
Was lunch money, right?
You did your break even was just one order at Taco Bell.
I just didn't have breakfast that day. Simple as that.
Yeah, easy. You're on a cut.
I think it switched around 2011, somewhere around there. I don't actually know the real day or time because of I think I deleted everything before then, and then I deleted some things that were shitty, and then I have the original logo. It's hideous, but it's like the design that I had in the beginning is very much the same as it is now. Like it's similar style layout.
It evolved. I mean, labels evolve for every brand. When you look at the history of labels, you always see how something starts and how it just kind of evolves and becomes more modern, and then it keeps some of its traditional authenticity, but like it always modernizes, whether it's a consumable product or a supplement product. There's always an evolution of labels every, I don't know, I would say anywhere from 5 to 15 years, depending on how large the company is and how much branding. The larger that the company is, I feel like the less frequently the label changes, but as a company starts off, it tries to find its character and its design.
We changed once. I think I just one day I looked at it and I was like, this was not even like early. It was a few years later. I was like, that's ugly. I gotta fix this. And then
people are paying me money for this. Like, man, I gotta fix this label.
Yeah, and then the design was a little bit restructured because originally it was a desktop theme shrunk down to mobile. Then I just custom built it from mobile to blow out 2 full-size tablets and websites. So I mean it's just been very organic since then, and I've just sort of followed where the categories and where the brands have evolved to. So like you're still within sports and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so when you said you started and you originally had your 10 products, this is before you were doing much of the information. You evolved into the information source. You got your first 1 to 2 customers that were paying for ad space. And fast forward, right now you said you're covering around 2,000 companies? Or
what
are your numbers at right now?
2,000 brands is what I would say, give or take. But it's tricky because if let's say Glambia for example, like that's a company of 7.
Yeah, how many brands is that?
ABB, BSN, Optimum, Nutrend, throw out a couple of Body and Fit. They got I would say it's around that amount. We have brands tagged on the site, so I have a count of how many brands is referenced on the site, but then that wasn't started until maybe 2015, 16 or some shit. I don't know. But and then sometimes you get spin-off brands and they're tagged the same. So I would say 2,000. And I would say I'm probably in communication with I would say it's several hundred.
Several hundred is a lot of communication, because when I think about it from if it was 700 stores, that's still a lot of accounts, but this is 700 businesses that have information that are constantly evolving. It's not just it's stagnant and it's one place.
Sometimes I won't hear from them for a while. Sometimes it'll be they'll hit me up, we're very familiar, we'll get on the phone. Let's say I'm launching my 1 product for the year. I'll get behind it. I'll understand the company, what they're trying to achieve, and then share it. Sometimes the brand will hit me up every month. Some will hit me up every week for 2 months and then not for the rest of the year.
Disappear. Yeah.
Everybody's strategy is different. Everybody's financial setup is different. Everybody's manufacturer is different. So, I mean, I just know if there was a brand on Stacked, I would say there's probably not very many that go on there that I don't actually have spoken to some extent.
That's impressive. Yeah. And for the brands that have fallen off, shame on you. Stacked is a great website. Get back on. Call Shane. He wants to cross over 3,000 people. He's not busy enough. He's 15 posts a day. I want to do 30. We want to make sure he has no life, no more fun. That is our goal here, is to just make his life more miserable.
I think the cap's 12. That's my general cap. I think not in terms of output, but I think that I only because I look at other websites in other industries, and I'm like, okay, so they're sharing 10 stories a day about mobile phones, right? That's not a real example, but I'm like, okay,
Right.
so there aren't that many people who are going to care about supplements at that frequency. Like if it
Sure.
was, I don't know, a website that shared news stories on shoelaces, you would probably be like, this is a bit too much if I saw 10 stories a day. So I think there's a
There's
balance.
like a diminishing return effect, basically, is what you're
Yes.
saying, that you've done the market research to look at, hey, you know what? If I just post about everything, I'm going to basically dilute the
Yeah.
information source, and I'm going to make the 10 most prevalent kind of post and then maybe
Yeah.
carry some over for a different day and then kind of pick and choose on that.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's an interesting, I did not know that about why or how you capped it. Going into my next question that I actually have for you is, I always wondered how difficult it must be for you as an individual to pick and choose. Like, I feel like the hard part is not to be like a conflict of interest in terms of like showing too much love or support for one person versus another. Obviously, you have, free information, and then you also have paid information. I get that aspect of it, but how do you like not over share news on certain brands versus other brands? How do you kind of have those guidelines for yourself?
So I have like a lot of internal rules. Like if I put them out there, people are like, "That's so stupid." But when I say them to
It's
people,
your own personal moral like
yeah,
beliefs kind of thing then. Okay.
it
And we
is.
don't
It
have to
is.
share that.
I'll
That's the
tell you it because
explicit.
I've told
Welcome
people
to the
this.
raw edition of Supplements Talk.
But the thing is people like they think it doesn't necessarily matter. It's like one of those subtle things, right? Like if you say I made the
Yeah.
chocolate taste smoother, they're not going to feel like it's smoother. They just might just okay, this is better. So for me, like years ago, there was a guy at supplementreviews.com called Tommy,
Yeah.
and I can't remember what we were talking about. It was some brand, and he was saying, and they were saying they were unbiased. I can't remember the topic, but he said everybody
Yeah.
has a bias. He's like, it doesn't matter if it's just something as simple as being like your favorite color is green, right? That means that if everything's equal in pre-workouts and one's green and one's pink, you're going to be like, that green one's the shit. And
Right.
it's a loose example, but he was
Sure.
right. And so I do have some biases on things that, like energy drinks, for example, even hydration drinks, that I have to overlook. Like I love energy drinks, but if I share too many, people are going to
Right.
be like, "Where's the supplement set?" And I don't really like hydration drinks myself, but I know that there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them, so I put effort into them. Same with the whole collagen category. But my general rule of thumb is like over the year up until 2017, anybody that hit me up was on Stack the next day. That was just it. Like you'd hit me up, and I would
Yeah.
just put them on there. Over the years, it's become a problem because I'm probably being hit up by a brand or two each day. And as much as I
You're
would love
right.
to do that, like I still have to
There's only
ensure.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to ensure the guys that I've already shared are still there, like, and people are up to date. Um, so nowadays, it's every brand that's ever been featured, whether or not you talk to me anymore, you will continue to be featured on Stack. So every after that first post, regardless of who you are, even if you hate me afterwards, I will
Wow.
still continue to be sharing these brands. And there are several that are that case. You won't know them, but there are several
I might know a
brands.
couple. Yeah.
There are several that I
That's
just
it.
keep sharing, whether or not they
That's an
communicate anymore.
interesting belief. This was the most interesting thing I was trying to figure out how to talk to you about is how do you go for that non-bias from a personal standpoint as a consumer, right? Then you have the non-biased as a business standpoint from like
Yeah.
oversharing or doing too much to one specific brand versus another. The reason why is from my experience, I always felt that brands were super sensitive about everything. If I talk about any brand or any company, I then get messages like, oh, you're always talking about this brand and you're always talking about that brand, but you never talk about this, or hey, why don't you hook up with this? And to me, it made it so difficult because, I'm trying to be not biased and I have to like specifically not overshare more information, even though I have more information on a specific brand or company. And then I always felt like there was so much kind of like, I don't know, like not drama, but just kind of back and forth between these brands and the way that they experienced it. And I imagine whatever I felt must be 2,000 times amplified because of you and because of the amount of brands that you had to deal with.
I think it's less because people are afraid that if they then go and like, hey, why aren't you sharing us? They're like, oh man, if I say that to him, he might like shit on me or something, which isn't the case. Some people have come to me and like be like, hey man, I sent you this information 4 hours ago. Why is it on the site? And I'm like,
come on, bro. Yeah,
I'll get it. I'll get to it soon. Like I'm just sucking it up. Like I should tell them to eat shit, but I don't. So yeah, any brand that would sell, we would always feature them regardless. It's sort of a hierarchy. So if I've got 7 new products to share and 7 flavors, the products will go up first. If there's a reformulation, if there's a rebrand, then that comes after a new flavor. If the flavor's a collab, that'll come ahead of like a fruit punch. So there are certain hierarchies that we do. Like I'm not going to fill a whole day of flavors. Not that that's not great, but you want some excitement, you want some evolution. And so I also have the rule of like, I haven't had any brand. I have had some brands say you shared too much of one. So we have a rule of thumb of I don't share a brand more than 3 times in a week. If it's based around a single product, right? So let's just say a brand teases the product on Monday, right? And it looks pretty exciting, and then unveils it on Wednesday, launches it on Friday. That would be 3 posts, right? Generic.
That's the cap right there.
But some people would perceive that as like, you knew all that information on Monday. Why the fuck didn't you drop it then? Like,
right. Why are you giving them so much of a spotlight?
Yes. Yeah. You could have just shared it on Wednesday and said it's going to be available on Friday. So, but I wouldn't have known that come Monday, right? So
they didn't tell me. Yeah.
The perception is that, so I have certain rules. Like if a brand launches 5 products, I won't tease them. I'll just share one by one. Sometimes I'll group them together. So like, and that's in an effort to make people not think he had to have known. He's just doing this. He's being paid. Because I'm not.
The next, question that I have is you finish the evolution. You're moving on. You have the 2,000 plus brands. What are some kind of the new things that you are doing? I've noticed that you were talking. You're doing more awards in terms of like you have Clash of the Cans. You've got more like kind of like annual like challenges, I guess we could call it. What do you define that as?
So the Protein Wars was actually almost as old as Stack. That is ridiculously old. It was like 10 or 11 years. So I started that. And I think I've said this a few times, but I started that because we put out a list of top 5 pre-workouts, top 5 fat burners that we've used and we found effective. And then we did a list of top 5 protein powders, and everyone was like, "That's horse shit. Why would you want to isolate? Why would you want to blend? Why don't you want a casein?" And I'm like, "Okay, you know what?
We're gonna settle this.
Delete this, and you guys can go vote. And then and then if you talk bad, I won't feel that shitty because it's not my choice. It's your choice.
Yeah, this is the public.
So, and it's evolved over the years because people, God knows how many people say, "Oh, you get paid for this." And I was like, "Trust me, I wish I got paid for this, right?"
Yeah.
The trophy, the custom Super Bowl ring is $1,200. Like, I don't get that back. We did have a sponsor last year, a title sponsor. That was for the first time. And that was very specific to a brand that we didn't want we wanted an ingredient company to do it.
Right.
But like, and managing all the votes, managing all the crashes, managing all the, like some people will say stuff like, "I heard that these guys are cheating." And I was like, guys, just chill, man. I'm doing the best I can, right? Like if it looks dodgy,
this is supposed to be fun, guys. Yeah.
If it looks dodgy, I'll delete it. And they're like, "Well, how are you going to decide what's dodgy?" And I was like, "I can't tell you that because then you're going to do. If you are a cheater, you're going to go do something different. Why would I tell you that?"
Right. I'm the referee. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's and yeah. So we did Protein Wars for 11 years, I think. Clash of the Cans is coming up. That's 5 years old now.
Wow, time flies.
We did that when we just saw a surge. It was the year that C4, Rays, American Energy,
Right.
3D energy.
When it became a category.
Yeah, like those initial hit, like newcomers pre-COVID. That was when we did it, and then it's just blown up since then. Like some might say I was ahead of the curve.
Right.
And then we did the Brand of the Year awards. Was originally just Brand of the Year, and it wasn't until maybe I think it was the year of COVID we introduced categories. We never had categories before. We did Newcomer of the Year. We've done International Brand of the Year, Functional Brand of the Year, and I feel bad what the other one is if I forgot it because those winners are going to feel poor.
Everyone's a winner.
Energy drink brand of the year. Energy drink.
All right, good. So, I mean, it expanded from Protein Wars to Clash of the Cans to all of these categories. And I'm leading up into the next big news information.
I know where you're going.
So that's where I'm going. You know what? I have I don't really have a script. I have a topic list, and then I'm basically skipping over it. So I'm super interested because what I see that you've done for the industry and where the industry continues to grow and how it's growing massively in all these categories. You mentioned it went from supplements to energy drinks to consumables to lifestyle to all these functional different things. It's growing so fast. And now I hear this kind of rumor. It's been floating around. You might have posted an article or two about it, a couple, I would say months now, I feel like maybe a month plus ago. So is there some more information you can share about what the plans of Stacked is going to be? Maybe, next year coming up.
I mean, you're referring to the Arnold,
I didn't want to say it. I always want you to say it. So, if you say it, then it's all fair game, So
that was literally one of the most candid conversations that turned into, like, even the guy that I talked to, he's like, I didn't know this was going to be this. And I was like, I didn't think you valued me that much. Anyway, because they basically wanted to advertise to reach out to smaller brands. Obviously, we share news on about 2,000. Maybe 20 of them are large. The rest would be considered moderate size or small. And I told him, I was like, you could advertise on there, but and I flat out said, I was like, we don't have any availability anyway. But I don't think that that would matter. I think everyone knows what the Arnold is. I think they just they want to see more out of it. And instead of advertise, he pitched this idea. He said, well, what about doing like a section and you try and bring value to it to the extent that you think would be enough for them to want to come? And I was like, well, now you got my attention. So
you're right. I'm listening.
Straight after that, I was like, okay, let's. So I came up with a few ideas. I called 5 brands, 5 of the most, 5 of the guys that I'm pretty close with that I can say to them, like, what do you think of this? And they can say,
get their feedback, kind of spitball to see if it would be interesting as an idea, right?
And like all of them said 100%. So I went back and I said, I got at least 5 brands. And he's like, yeah, I thought that's the match you can get. And I was like,
excuse me. Hold on one second. This was just, I was talking to some friends. Don't make me go look for these things.
So that evolved into, what's likely to be 30, 35, 40 brands in the section next year. And then a lot of the companies, there are quite a few companies that we've just sort of, it's come up in conversation and they've talked to me about it. And they said, can we be in your area? And I'm like, yeah, you're pretty big. And I would say, like, we have a cap. So one of the things we introduced was that it was a cap on size. A lot of the complaints that brands had or issues they had was they would spend 10 grand and then be overshadowed by someone throwing down 50 to 100, which is fair. Like, that means a lot to them. And in theory, if you're both committing 50% of your revenue, one shouldn't necessarily balance out the other because one might feel the other feel bad. So we introduced the cap, like no one can go over 10 by 30 size in the stacked area, and no one can go over a certain height. So everyone's going to be sort of on an equal playing field. And so there are a couple brands that we talked to that didn't fit. And so we said some of the things that we're doing, and we can offer that to them, but we can't put you in our area. So they went and got a spot somewhere else at the floor. So there were a couple guys that are coming that aren't in the area, but I've encouraged, I guess, to come.
They wanted to come, but basically it didn't fit really with the specs. And what it really sounds like to me is like you are almost building. Have you ever seen like those food courts where they have a bunch of micro shops and there's like 20 plus different like food places in a really small area? And it's amazing because you can just go around and go to all these different places and hit everything. And just, it's awesome. That's really what it sounded like when you were talking about it to me. And then I was shocked. I felt like this is a miniature expo in an expo. Like it's its own little section that has these highlights and it's so kind of uniform. I feel like it's like a modern approach to structurally setting up events. So, so going and talking about that and setting those things up, it's interesting because it's very difficult. I've seen the evolution of trade shows just like yourself, where it went so big, massive booths and how the brands were always showing up. But from a business standpoint, the ROI, like you talked about it, it's all consumer driven. And when you actually calculate how much a brand has to spend to just show up, meaning the staff, the hotels, the samples, the booth space, it's not just, hey, it's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 investment. It's like a way bigger investment for capital, and you don't really make that money. It's more of like a marketing expense that I see. And I felt because of COVID, it really diminished that situation, and we kind of slowly slowed down. So I'm very grateful to you and the organizers. Shout out to the organizers for giving Stack that opportunity to light a little fire under, the industry, get that spark going, kind of hopefully bring that back, because I've always loved the trade shows, even from a consumer standpoint or even a business standpoint. If the brands pour in more energy and capital, then they are able to just kind of yield a better result for everyone in the industry. So I'm really looking forward to that event, and really appreciate you taking the time to set those things up.
Oh, it's he told me, he was like, we can do a section, and like the minute he said we'll put a sign above hanging from the roof that says Stacked, I was like, sold. I'm in, bro. He's like, well, I said, no, we don't need to go any further, my friend. You have like that. That's it, man. Like when they say,
that's all I wanted to see. Yeah.
Like the name's written in the stars, bro. That's my stars right there. You're hanging it from the Arnold roof. Like I still remember going to the Arnold for the first time.
That's like, amazing.
I wouldn't care what comes out of it outside of that. That to me is fantastic.
It's like a personal satisfaction. It like gives me kind of, when you said it, when I was picturing it in my mind, when you said it, I got little goosebumps, because to me, it's like, it's so rewarding. I'm just passionate about it. I'm excited for the fact.
It's probably not going to look like what I'm envisioning, but that's irrelevant.
The original logo, Stacked, the OG one. Oh, I'm sorry. We pulled up the wrong.
We put a space between Stack and 3D. So it's like legit, like Stack. Yeah. Son of a bitch. Either way, like until the day, I'm imagining it written as clear as day. In fact, I imagine it being like LED, like custom strobe lights and it's either way. It's so like we've done a lot of things, and I'm working to like I love trade shows as well. So and there's a lot of other industries where it hasn't had a problem. Expo West was ridiculously huge, so it's still very much alive.
Crazy.
Well. I think that they just need to. Pretty much doing what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring value to absolutely everybody there. And like the guys that are in these things, and this is where I think the Arnold not necessarily needed me, but appreciated me, was that he was like, when I told him, I talked to 5 brands, he's like, oh, did you message him? I was like, no, I got on the phone and talked to him for like 2 hours. He's like, oh, and then the 35 other brands that we've got confirmed so far, I've all talked to on the phone for about 2 hours, at least 2 or 3 times each. So these are not guys that are like, I'm already talking to these people anyway. I'm just throwing it at the end of the conversation. And so I was able to find out what they didn't like, what they liked, things that might have made them feel undervalued, like just last minute surprise costs that they didn't expect.
You've got such a great relationship with these guys, and it's so nice that you were able to give the feedback to the organization and have these conversations. I also have that kind of position in like a business development standpoint where because I come from contract manufacturing, because I understand the cost of goods, because I come from a sales rep perspective. So I used to be a sales rep. I used to be an international rep. Every time that I talk to a brand, I can understand their pain points. I can understand, how they want to make the ROI. I know their cost of their goods and stuff. So for me, it's so much easier to speak to them because I understand them. I was in their shoes. And I feel that you're in the same position because you can relate to them because you've already built the rapport. You already have your conversations with them all the time. And next thing you know, here you are just relaying the message, and just people are showing up to hang out with you and to hang out with everyone else.
100%. I told this to them. I was like, your problem is that, and it's not necessarily Arnold's fault, right? They're an event organizer. They have to, I guess, accommodate to a brand that is most likely to want what they're offering. So their approach has to be streamlined. You're not going to sell a protein powder in one flavor that tastes like dog biscuits, right? It needs to be something that appeals to everyone. And then you kind of specialize if it gets good. And so the Arnold's approach is like they have an offer that goes to most brands. But I've sort of, like I said, I've come in and one guy's like, hey, can I be put over here? Can I maybe not be beside these guys? Can I not be on the edge? Can I, bring a couple athletes? Can I walk my boxes in myself? I'm like, yeah, but they weren't open to do that with the Arnold. And I understand that because they probably would have said no.
It's very difficult as a giant organization to have all these custom requests and have it run this way. Yeah, you're right. It's an event and you have to streamline it. So I get the aspect of the Arnold, and they've been doing a great job with the organization of promoting it and getting everyone involved to the best of their abilities. It's just the passion side inspired from that specialty that you're creating is what's interesting. And I'm very curious to see how it develops and how it continues to grow, because this is just the first event. And if this is a major success, which I know it will be, then I can only imagine the future events. And then I can only see you getting involved with event organizing in the future. Maybe the Olympia, maybe, EU Arnold, maybe multiple places. Well, for me,
I am involved in the Arnold UK. That's more sort of building, because they didn't used to organize that. They had someone else do it, like on a licensing thing, I think. So next year, the first time that they're actually going to be hosting it themselves. And that's still quite a young show. Not young, but not as prominent. And so I won't have a specialty section, because I said to them, I don't think that the UK has that size. I don't think that's worth
many brands as what the US has in saturation and things. Yeah, makes sense.
My specialty zone over there would be like 3 dudes. So it's I think you build out the size and scale of the people involved, then see what we can do from there. And this is also the first time they've taken over the show, so I didn't want to overpromise, but do what I could to build it up, whether or not I'm involved or I have my name in lights, just to help that show grow, then expand from it the year after. But it's the Arnold, it'll be if everything goes to plan, it should be fantastic. Not an overly fun time for me. They said that was one of my issues, where they said, do you want to hire an assistant? And I was like, what are they going to do? And then
right. You need someone that can talk to the brands and interact, that know the people, that do the things. Some character that I don't know, that can help around, that's been around the industry. I don't know anyone. Maybe there could be some suggestions, but is there any other things as we kind of wrap this up? I mean, I had a random thing here, which was like a rapid fire round where we just ask your favorite first thought ideas. I did this with Dan from NutriBio. So here is the rapid fire fun round. I'm going to ask you a question of your own personal, your own personal use. So, we're taking the biased out and we're inputting the biased in. So this is just Shane's favorite personal use type of product. So I'll list a category, and the first thing that comes to your mind. It's not, I don't want you to think about it and be like, oh, what about this one? Like pops in your head and you're like, that's the one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite protein snack?
Bear Bell's protein bar.
There you go. Favorite flavor of an energy drink? Any energy drink, any milligram caffeine. Flavor.
It's mango. Like
mangoes. Mangoes is your go-to.
No. Monster nails mango. Other brands don't nail mango as well, but Monster's mango is second to none. Rise's Tiger's Blood, second to none. Ghost Green Apple, second. Like I wouldn't try those flavors in anybody else's drink, but I would try them in theirs.
So very specific to the brand and the way that they flavor that specific flavor. So we're not saying mango as a total like flavor. We're saying that company's flavor.
Rise of Tiger's Blood, Ghost Green Apple, 3Ds, a grape, an orange. Like some of these flavors, I might not enjoy the rest of their menu or like the entire lineup. Right. Some of these guys, they just nail the shit out of them. It's like they tried really hard on one, or they just cared a lot a me. And just nailed the shit.
And they just knew that this flavor note would be yours. All right, we have two more. We have two more for you. I'll let you rehydrate. So, not a sponsored ad. What would be your favorite protein flavor?
Chocolate. I'm basic as shit, man.
Basic. Do you blend it? Do you mix with it?
In the morning,
or do you just drink it straight?
In the morning, I blend it with oats. Post-workout, I blend it with a carb source like dextrose. And at night, I blend it with casein.
Are you a high stim or a low stim pre-workout kind of guy?
I'm both, man. It depends. Like
depends on the workout.
Well, this morning, because I knew this was happening, and I knew I had to have something to spice me up. I had a low stim. So like, because I was preparing for this. But if I'm not doing anything that's going to require any energy, I probably more moderate to high. Like if it's something like back day, leg day, I don't mind throwing down 400 to 500 milligrams caffeine.
Your turn. You feel free to ask me 5 of your random questions that you think, and it could be business related, brand related. It could be about products. It could be anything, just in terms of for you to have a little fun to poke at me. Feel free.
What's your favorite collab so far?
Oh, my favorite collab. The first thing that came to my mind was Rise Godzilla, just because of Japan. The reason why I think that is because it's so interesting that it's a movie, and I can relate to the Japanese market personally. So I've never tried it, but I think it's really interesting. Okay. As a collab, it's interesting, like because flavor collabs are easy because you can really associate. Oh, I know this product, whether it be like let's say like a Skittle or kind of like a specific like thing. This is a movie, a character, right?
Yeah, that was the thing. They told me when it launched, they said this isn't a collab with the movie. This is a collab with the original creator of the character. Because
that's amazing to me.
It came out around the time of the Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it came out around one of them. And I was like, oh, where's Kong? And they were like, oh, this isn't actually related to the movie. This is with the character. What's your favorite protein flavor?
Right now, the first thing that came to my mind was I like blueberry muffin. I like NutriBio's blueberry muffin. It's very strange, but blueberry for me is like, I like blueberry energy drink flavor of any brand. I like blueberry anything. It's a very unique flavor. I mix it in with yogurt too, like a Greek yogurt, and have blueberry yogurt.
I don't know if you can answer this question. You don't need to name the brand. I don't know if you've had this before.
Maybe not.
What is the worst experience of a side effect you've had from like a pre-workout, whether it be a sample? Like I've had some that sent me to the bathroom. I've had some that made me throw up, pass out. Like, what's your worst experience?
I've got a great story now. So I will not mention the brand. You know who you are, the brand itself. I've tried it. I have 2 stories now because it's now 2 products. One was so bad that I almost went to the hospital, and it was so crazy because it was a sleep product.
Really?
It was something. Yes. I gave it to a friend of mine as well, too. So we both take it. I'm like all about trying new products and samples, and brands always send me stuff. I tried the sample. I go to the gym with my friend. We took high stim pre-workouts, and I took a scoop of this, and, it was like just a kind of like a ZMA plus other ingredients. And it was, I tried it, and later that night, I just started sweating, and I was like, man, I might be running a fever or something. I go jump in the shower and I go try to like get my body temperature normal. And then after that, I just start sweating again out of the shower. Like, and by sweating at this point, I completely wet. I change my shirt. I put on a new shirt and I soak it entirely. And I'm like, what is this? I can't go to sleep. I start getting cold shakes. So I'm over here shaking like this, and I cannot go to sleep the entire night. Now, it's not because of energy. It's not because of stimulants. It's not because of like a crazy amount of caffeine. It's all due to the fact that I can't stop sweating and my body temperature is irregular. I take 2 more showers. I wet my bed sheets. I soak through everything, and I cannot stop sweating. That was the worst experience I've ever had on any supplement, because I was miserable. I had to not go to work the next day. I couldn't do anything. And I was concerned. I was like, I gotta go to the hospital, but I knew, because I took it and I knew it was going to get out of my system. I was like, I'm just going to have to fight this through. The next morning, or sorry, not even the next morning, that night, like at 3, 4, 5 a.m., I'm texting the brand. And I said, I want to let you know that you're going to need to recall this product, like straight up. Like, there's no way that you need this to go into market. You're going to get a ridiculous claims. So that's one experience. And the second experience was a capsule product, because we always know that those fat burners, whenever you take some crazy stims, I took one, and I don't really take fat burners, but I ended up taking one. Yeah, naturally burning fat. I took one because I was really curious about how strong the stimulants were, and I was super fascinated by the product. And apparently the manufacturer put on too much of the ingredient dose, and what ended up happening was it was the wrong formulation at a really high stim. Now, this, again, both these products did not go into market yet. These were products that were in like their beta phases of everything. And I took it, and it was so strong that I just had like full neuro like flushes. I was just so stimmed out. The other one had no caffeine, no stimulants. This was just stim. And it was basically like taking, I can't even imagine. It's stronger than anything that I was taking like as a pre-workout, and stronger than a DMHA pre-workout, stronger than a DMAA pre-workout. It was just like, I was just overwhelmed. And I just had to keep walking. I actually decided I need to walk. I couldn't run. I had to walk, because what was happening was I felt that if I stood still, like my heart would explode. That's how it personally felt. And so I said, I'm just going to walk this off. So I just walked to the park and just walked back. And I said, this thing is strong, man. And mind you, at that time, I was not taking caffeine. I was caffeine sensitive. So there was some kind of like background underlying conditions. Like, I wasn't like stimmed up and ready, but it was still really strong. And then they found out that it was a mistake.
What's the worst tasting product you've had? You don't need to name the brand, just the name of the flavor.
Worst tasting product.
And it could be a snack, could be a pre-workout, could be a protein, could be anything. Just something that tasted like you just couldn't finish it. You had to tip it down the drain. You're like, this isn't worth it.
Oh, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was a drink. I cannot remember the brand's name, but I had a sip of it, and what was the flavor?
Well,
it was a flavor that
you sip it, you're like, I don't know what this is meant to be, but it ain't it.
That's exactly what it was. So I can't remember the flavor. It was a can. It was a 300 milligram energy drink can. I don't remember the flavor, and I had a sip of it, and I love energy drinks. I drink energy drinks every day. I can drink almost all the brands. I love them so much. I do have favorite ones. Shout out to Celsius. There's actually no brands that I don't like, really. There'll be specific flavors that I don't like and flavors that I do, but this flavor was so bad. This was, I think, the first energy drink in my life where I had a sip and I can't drink this. It's too much. Like, it just tastes so bad. So that happened once. You know what? Thanks for coming on to Supplement Stock, Shane. We really do appreciate everything that you do for the industry, and we're so excited to see you at the Arnold in person. We're so excited for all the news and the information that you provide to the community, and just thanks for being you.
No, thank you for being you, San Diego Sam.
You're very welcome. I'll be seeing you soon. And if you guys have any more questions for myself or for Shane, feel free to send us a message. I'm going to put in the description somewhere, editor somewhere here. And then we'll be able to answer any of your questions.